Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and I've got your Week 13 waiver wire video here to help you guys kind of navigate some of the injuries that are going on or some players that have been really good that are still out there to be available. So let's jump right into it. So it's Turkey Week this week, and we've got some great games on Thursday. We've got a game on Friday, games on Sunday and Monday, of course. So there are no teams on a bye, which is great news. Obviously, you hopefully came out last week victorious, even with all the teams on a bye, and you guys came out with that win because we are about 2 to 3 weeks away before fantasy playoffs start. And this waiver wire video will help you guys get some players that might help you this week, but also players that I'm looking into the future that might help you out based off their schedules. So the first player I'm going to mention is going to be the quarterback position, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's going against the Cardinals this week, and he's available in 34% of leagues. It's not a lot, but he is still out there, and if you're able to grab him, grab him. The fact that he has started to get back into his older form earlier this season, he's been fantastic. The last 2 weeks, he's been averaging over 20 plus fantasy points. He's thrown 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and realistically, I got to give credit to the Vikings. The Vikings have actually done a really great job. Even though they have an amazing star in Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold's actually being able to use Jordan Addison. He's being able to use Hawkinson, right? You've got players like that who are helping where Justin Jefferson doesn't have to be the star, which allows this offense to actually open up. And I think it actually has been helping Sam Darnold a lot. So the fact that he's still available in leagues, he's got an okay schedule coming up. It's a little bit tough, a little bit, a couple good games here and there. But I think because this offense is growing and getting better, and especially the confidence in obviously Hawkinson and Addison, I think this is really good news for Sam Darnold. Another quarterback I really like this week, and this is going to be kind of I would say maybe a little bit deeper leagues, but Caleb Williams is definitely worth a stash. Right now, he's available in 46% of leagues. He's going against the Lions this week, and we'll obviously do a start and sit video for that. Caleb has been great, though, in the last 2 weeks. He's had an amazing Week 12 game. He threw over 300 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, and he's been really mistake-free. The biggest thing has been the change of the offensive coordinator. Because of that, I think it's actually helped Caleb Williams. Now, as a Bears fan, I'm sure you guys are seeing this as not a win because you guys haven't gotten any wins, but you've gotten some great games out of them. And unfortunately, that does nothing for you, and I apologize for that, but Caleb has actually been able to use his legs, which has been huge. I think he's starting to kind of get into that USC form where he's being put into that playmaker aspect where he's being able to feel confident about running the ball if he needs to. And he's doing a really good job throwing the ball. And I think realistically, you got to look at what he's got going on. He does have a tough schedule. So understand that if you're going to go after Caleb Williams, there is a tough chance of him having some struggles. But I really like what this offense has done because he's had 2 tough games anyways. But the fact is he still has been able to perform and putting up some decent fantasy points. His rushing upside is going to be key. Obviously, you're hoping for a couple touchdowns. I'm not expecting him to throw over 300 yards, but I do like him as a nice little waiver wire add. Now, jumping into the running back position, the first player I'm going to mention is going to be Gus Edwards versus the Falcons. He's available in 74% of leagues. Unfortunately, Dobbins got hurt on Monday night's game. He hurt his knee. He was left out of the game. Now, you did see him running on the sideline, which is good news and not something that's going to be super serious. But the concern is we don't know what's going to happen. We're not sure what his, the severity of it is. We don't know if he's going to miss a game. Maybe he doesn't miss a game. But Gus Edwards is definitely someone you need to consider grabbing, especially if you're a J.K. Dobbins owner or if you're someone who's like me. Sometimes you'll grab a player like that so that way your league mate can't grab Dobbins. Gus Edwards is okay. He's not as efficient. He does score some touchdowns like he did on Monday night, so there is some upside there if they get towards the red zone. But he's definitely more worth a stash for any of the Dobbins owners out there. Another running back I really like is going to be Bucky Irving. I'm mentioning him only because he's still available in 24% of leagues. That's the only reason I'm mentioning Bucky Irving. The fact that he's still out there, and it's a slim chance he's probably available in your league, but you got to look anyways. Bucky Irving is coming off one of his better performances. He had 27 points in week 12, which right now places him as currently running back 21 for the season. And that's with some inefficiency at the beginning. He wasn't utilized as much as he has been now. And he's been actually in a really really strong in this offense. He's definitely the running back one. Rachaad White's still being utilized, so understand there's still that. But think of a poor man's Detroit Lions, right? You still got two really good running backs that can have some upside. But I love Bucky Irving. He's got some great receiving aspects. He's been really the guy who's the most effective. You need to go and grab him if he is available. Now, jumping into the wide receiver position, I've got Jeudy as my first receiver to mention. He's available in 40% of leagues. Jeudy has developed into Jameis Winston's favorite target at this moment. I really thought it was going to be Cedric Tillman, and Tillman is still there and he's still valuable, but not as valuable as Jerry Jeudy has been. Even in the snow globe game, Jerry Jeudy was still able to put up 14 fantasy points on 6 receptions. He had about 85 yards or so. And realistically, he's getting just so many targets. He's definitely worth grabbing. In the last 4 games, he's averaging 16.9 points, and he's seeing 9 targets a game. Winston in this Browns offense is obviously throwing a lot more than they would like. Even though Chubb had a great game, he was very inefficient, which means it's all put onto Jameis Winston's shoulder. And with Jerry Jeudy being his number 1 target, he is definitely worth a grab. Another receiver I really like this week is going to be Devaughn Vele for the Broncos. He's available in 95% of leagues, which is understandable. Vele is worth stashing, though, in deeper leagues for sure. Or maybe you want to put him as a flex play. He's been a lot more consistent as of late. In the last 3 games, he's seen 18 targets. He's averaging 12 points per game. Now, Vele won't win your matchups every single week, but he's a player that's been consistent, which is going to be helpful, right? You want players to have a little bit safer floor. Vele hasn't quite gotten there yet, but he's definitely worth a grab because the fact is, Vele is a target that I think Bo Nix is starting to feel more comfortable with, because obviously you can't always throw to Cortland Sutton. Vele is a great option. Another receiver I like is going to be Jordan Addison. Now, this is going to be a little bit tougher because he's only available in 31% of leagues, but I want to mention Addison because, man, has he been amazing. He had a great Week 12 game. He put up 30 fantasy points. He had 8 receptions and 160 yards. He's averaged 16.5 points a game in the last 4 games, and he scored 3 touchdowns in those last 4 games. Like I mentioned before when I talked about Sam Darnold, this offense is opening up. Sam Darnold's feeling more and more confident in Jordan Addison. He's feeling more and more confident in TJ Hawkinson, and Addison has been absolutely amazing. It helps when you have Justin Jefferson on the outside because you can't put your focus on Addison, and Addison's a great big time playmaker, and he deserves a lot more love. He deserves to be rostered a lot more. So again, 31% is not high, but if he is available, look through your waivers. He is definitely worth grabbing. So last receiver I'm going to mention is going to be Nick Westbrook. He's going to be, I think, available in about 58% of leagues or so. At least when I looked at it, he was 88%, but he's starting to get picked up a lot more. I mentioned him before in last week's video, and he's averaged a great game. Now, he had an average game in Week 12. He put up 12 points and a lot of his 2 receptions, but he had big play touchdown. And that's kind of where he's at. He's averaging 13 points a game, but I will say this, he's scored 6 touchdowns in 7 games so far. Like, he's been a touchdown machine. So if you can get that consistency there, which is tough to do, but he has done it, he is definitely a flex play almost every single week. So consider grabbing Nick. Make sure you're putting him on your roster if you can, because he is available, especially in deeper leagues. You need to put him on your roster. I've played him in a few of my deep leagues, and I'm setting him and forgetting him at this point because he's done a really good job for the Tennessee Titans. Now, jumping to the tight end position, this is actually probably the one position I think is worth watching. First player is going to be Jonnu Smith. He's going against the Packers this week. He's available in 30% of leagues. Not quite high, but he is available. Jonnu has been dominant in the last 2 games. He's averaged 25 fantasy points in those 2 games. He's seen 19 targets, and he scored 3 touchdowns. Jonnu, of course, can have some inconsistent games, but he's a very talented and athletic tight end. He's becoming more and more in this offense for the Dolphins. Obviously, Tua absolutely trusts him, which is huge. That's a big play. And because, again, you have Tyreek Hill, you still have to Waddle to deal with. Jonnu is absolutely being the one that is taking advantage of that. Right now, he's currently tight end 5 for the season. So the fact is that he's available in 30% of leagues. Look through your waiver wire list, see if he's there, put him on your roster. Another player I'm going to mention is going to be Taysom Hill. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. It depends on your league's format. Most leagues put him as a tight end, which is great news. Some leagues put him as tight end / quarterback, and there are some that put him as quarterback. So depending on what your format is, Taysom Hill should be rostered. He's available in 38% of leagues, and the fact is he is a player that can obviously score in many different ways. He can throw touchdowns, he can rush touchdowns, he can catch. He is that Swiss Army knife that every team would love to have on their roster. Now, Taysom Hill right now currently as a tight end, again, is top notch. I wouldn't put him as a quarterback unless you're in a super flex and you're just desperate at that point. But Taysom Hill is definitely a player that if you can put him in the tight end position, it's worth grabbing, because realistically, the Saints only have Alvin Kamara, with Olave being out still. MVS is there, but he's not consistent enough to, really garner a complete roster, but I love Taysom Hill. And the last tight end I'm going to mention, he's available in a lot more leagues, which is kind of surprising. It'd be Zach Ertz for the Commanders. He's available in 52% of leagues, which is crazy because right now he's tight end 7 for the season. Ertz has averaged 17 points per game and has scored in each of the last 2 games. And he's in the last 5 weeks alone has seen an average of 7 targets a game. And the fact that he's tight end 7 for the season, but he's only rostered on 48% of leagues and he's available is kind of shocking to me. Like, the trust is there between Jaden Daniels and Zach Ertz, right? I thought Ben Sinnott was going to be the tight end going forward, but right now Zach Ertz is absolutely taking over. I think it might be good for Sinnott in the future, but right now Zach Ertz should be rostered in more leagues. He is not. Yet I'm seeing other tight ends being rostered and still being underperforming, but because of their name, I think has been the thing that's been holding them on your roster. So reevaluate your teams. Look at what you got out there. Look at the schedules that are coming up, because there's some soft schedules for some of these teams, and start really getting ready for these playoffs. So those are my week 13 waiver wire ads. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys just subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit me up in the comments down below if you have any types of questions, whether it be trades or anything like that, if you're still going through that. If you have dynasty questions, hit me up down below, and of course any waiver wires. So make sure you guys, again, subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.